All right, hi everyone. Dominic Frederick here. I am a 3D artist, and I'm going to use this channel as a way to kind of talk about some of my own personal projects that I'm working on, specifically making VR video games on the Meta Horizon Worlds platform. Um, it's a lot of fun. I got into VR about 3, 4 years ago when I was invited into the closed beta version of Meta Horizon, and it's very fun, very amazing. If you haven't had a chance to check out VR video games, I definitely recommend it. So with that said, let's talk about making some games, right? Oh, actually, before I get into that, let me just show you some of my past artwork and kind of give you like a little bit of like a feeling and flavor of what I enjoy and kind of the stuff I build. So okay, so this model right here, this is a game ready asset. This was made as just like a test of bringing models into video games and checking it out in VR and seeing how everything holds up. So this guy, I call him Bob. I know the music's terrible. So I just did a quick turntable of him just to kind of get an idea. He's rendered out in Keyshot. He was sculpted in ZBrush. I'm a big ZBrush guy. That's where I do most of my modeling. The texture was done with ZBrush, Photoshop, and Substance Painter. So that's kind of like my pipeline for making 3D assets. I like to build them in ZBrush. I like to texture them the most I can do. Oh, and then to do the UVs, I use UV layout. Um, so yeah, so that's my workflow. So ZBrush, UVs, and UV layout, and then my texture I usually do ZBrush, Photoshop, and Substance Painter. Whatever comes easiest and whatever feels right at the moment, whatever's needed. Okay, so this is Bob. Bucket of bolts. And let's see. So that was made for that's a game ready asset, like real time rendering. But here's some other stuff that I've made. I really love this character. This was kind of inspired by like the movie Aliens, which I'm a big fan of. I really enjoy that. And so I just did some like test renders. I actually think I did it for like I think it was I can't remember, but it's a personal project. So these are the ZBrush renders, just to show you like all that great, beautiful detail. So let me just talk really quick how I got into um, VR. So during like COVID, a lot of people weren't leaving, and I was drawing a lot. I was kind of going from 3D back into like drawing and kind of like writing and storytelling. I was actually really loving it. So I uh, I created this photo and I wrote a little story with it. So you can go on, you can like read this, but I wrote this story about what it would be like to kind of be in that world and kind of like really immerse myself. So I started writing what it would feel like. And I kind of was like already creating worlds in my head, just like I just didn't realize I was going to be doing it in VR at the time. But I wrote this story of like what it would be like swimming up in that water, and the water is like really warm, and like the rain like hitting me in the face and what it feels like, and just all these like amazing ideas were coming to my head as I was sculpting it. Like as I was sculpting the rocks, I was thinking to myself like, oh, the battles that happened here and the sword slashes into the rock that were carved there, and like who's waiting for me in the tower, and what's gonna happen when I get up there. So there was all this great storytelling that was happening, and I really loved that. So I was a couple weeks later, I was like watching Connect, and I was listening to Mark Zuckerberg, and he was mentioning video games that were coming out on the Connect, and I was sold. I was like, okay, perfect. I'm like, this sounds great. I actually might like this. So I bought a headset, and I don't regret it at all. VR is amazing. I can't talk enough about it. It does take like a couple weeks to get your VR legs. Like I remember going into Meta Horizon, they had this building. In the building, like it feels like it's maybe like 10 feet up in the air, and I like you can jump off the building, and I would go to the top, and like I would like close my eyes, and I would jump off the top, and I'd be like I would feel like my stomach like woozy, like whoa. Um, But after like 2 weeks, it's like, oh, you have your VR legs and you are used to it, and man, oh man, you like seek that thrill. So okay, so this was this artwork. Here's some of my 3D stuff. I will show that guy in a bit. This was an Oni, just a really scope. I really love detail. I love doing like really high res detail and like kind of like getting things to look amazing with inside of ZBrush, and then just turn it all into maps and then kind of render it out. So and let's see. So here's just another drawing. This guy. Okay, so let's talk about the project here, what I'm working on. Well, actually, let me show you some of my past VR games. So inside of Meta Horizon Worlds, I've helped on 100 worlds, more than 100 worlds, uh, in the old style. So Horizon switched from what they call Sub D to now custom import models. So eventually, we're kind of going towards the path of being able to import our own objects, our own assets. But in the old style, I published about 15 worlds, 15 different games, if I had to say. Some were games, some were just like fan art, some were just like hangout worlds. What's really great about Horizon Worlds is it's more than just games. And yeah, and I'll get more into that as we go and we talk about like what I'm gonna actually the projects I'm gonna build, because one of the things that VR does the best is experiences. It's experiences that you can't have in real life, and that's like just something that you only feel when you put the headset on. Because I've played the same stuff in headset and out of headset, and the disconnect from not being in the headset is just unbelievable. So again, you have to just try it for yourself. All my friends I let try the headset, they love it. Okay, so enough promoting VR. um, Let me show you some of my games that I made that are still kind of like popping. Okay, so this was a shooter game that I made, and it was based off of a mechanic. So I had an idea for a gun, but I didn't want to do like a pow pow gun that like hits you and then you get a point. I wanted to have more interaction with the gun, so it actually pushes the player or freezes them. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. So I can like shoot someone and it pushes them back, right? I was like, all right, I'm gonna turn that into a game. That's a fun mechanic, right? This is how this world was made. The mechanic came first, and then it was like, okay, well, what's the game loop? What's the gameplay? What's going on? What's the first like fun thing people are doing? What's the second fun thing people are doing? Like, so the primary game is knocking people off the platform. You get a point for your team. Oh, and this is some other cool stuff I did, but let me show you the gameplay first. So this is me. As you can see, I'm jumping on trampolines. I'm trying to blast the other team. They're holding the high ground, the best position, so I'm clearing them off. Unfortunately, my aim was a little bad because I think I was solo, came back down, and he blasted me off the platform. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun game. But in VR, oh man. So okay, so that's called Battle Blast Off. And then let's see, and then I just made another game about a month ago where I don't have a video of it, but I made ice skating. And the mechanic, again, this world was based around the mechanic. I made this ice skating mechanic. It's really fun. And then that was the primary fun game loop, right? It was like, okay, people come to your world, they can skate around in this beautiful world. That's the primary. The secondary part of the game was snowflakes fall from the sky, and you collect snowflakes, and every snowflake you catch gives you a little bit of a boost. So you get like this little adrenaline when you hit a snowflake. And of course, there's leaderboards where like everyone's trying to be the top leaderboard, catch the most snowflakes. So those were the two game loops inside that game. Now, this new project that I'm going to work on, it's going to be a little different, and it's going to be probably a lot harder for me, because it's something I've only kind of did once the old way. I did a game Let's see, do I have it on here? I did a game called Dracula's Haunted Castle, and this was a spooky puzzle world. And I really enjoyed it because it felt like more of an experience. Like it kind of felt like I was walking into almost like a movie, and the puzzles were somewhat hard but somewhat easy. Where I felt like it just felt like you were kind of being pulled and kind of just like going through this movie. At least that's what I thought in my head, right? And that's kind of what I want to do now. I want to do more of an experience, and a VR experience where you are going to be going into this world. And well, before I jump into the project, because it's going to be fun, fun, fun. And it's good to have all your ducks in a row. And even me, like, making this video and saying it out loud is going to help me understand what I'm making, right? Okay, so is that all I want to show you for now? Um, yes. Okay. Okay, cool. So, all right, so let's talk about this new idea, right? So, I'm going to make a video game on the Horizon Worlds platform, and I want to do an experience. I want it to feel like you're stepping into a movie and you're kind of part of the movie. So, it's going to be like a game. There's going to be puzzles. There's going to be like, you know, things to do, interactive stuff. So, the game loop so it keeps you entertained, but I want it to be more like an experience. I want you to feel what it really feels like to like be involved in this world. Very immersed. That's my goal. That's my goal is to make you feel like you're so immersed in this world that you just love it. It feels like a movie to you, and you have a great time. Right? That's kind of what I'm going for. Um, I say that because I feel like VR can really do that very well. Like, yeah, I probably could make another fun game mechanic, but I have to do what I enjoy, and this is kind of where my heart is pulling me at the moment. So, with that said, my idea for this new world is going to be a story based around a lost temple that you will be going through. Without giving too much away, so I have already kind of like plotted out the way that the game or the experience will work. I started building some of the assets, and I'll get into building and show like kind of what I'm going through and really what it takes to make these video games because a lot goes into it. Because they're real time, you want your games, you want your experiences to run smoothly. So you have to build it in a certain way that can handle the platform, can be played on a phone, could be experienced without bad frame rates. Because me personally, if my world is running at 30 frames per second, that's a bad experience. I want to enjoy that. So I you have to it's easy to build 3D for movies. It's harder to build 3D for video games. It's even harder because I feel like the rules get even more like you lose less um, kind of like leeway on how you can build. So building for cell phones, you have to be very like spot on because they're not that powerful. So if you are doing something wrong, you're gonna feel it, right? You're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay for it somewhere else. So okay, so with that said, with this experience, I want it to feel like a movie that you're walking into, and I'm actually gonna start it with this character or this idea, right? So this guy, and you can read his origin. He is again. I love writing. I love storytelling, and this is kind of why I want to make an experience instead of a game this time around. I do have like I got a lot of games under my belt, building on the platform. Some are hit and miss. Some aren't popular. Some are fun for friends. Some people are like, "Yeah, I love it," and then it's like I never see him again. The platform is very very rough when it comes to building. That's why you kind of got to build for yourself, right? I feel like my Horizon people, they know what I mean when I say that kind of stuff. But okay, so this is an original character. I call this the Siren, and The original idea was that this siren would play very eerie music through its spinal cord. So it has a lot of spinal cords that would kind of work like little flutes. And it would draw in its user, or it would draw in its victim to itself, because only that certain person can hear that flute noise, and then you would seek it out where it's coming from. So that's how I'm going to start my game. That's the beginning of my game. So the experience is you're in the jungle with a shaman, and I'm not going to go too much into it because I want to enjoy the experience. But this is like the beginning where I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do something where like there's a lot of like booby traps and hidden passageways and semi hard puzzles, not too hard, because I want it to be more like, again, you're watching a movie where you don't have to think so hard, but hard enough where you kind of feel like you're still having fun, where the puzzle doesn't interrupt the experience, if that makes any sense. So okay, so this is how I'm gonna start my world. So I'm gonna turn this into a version that could basically be brought into Horizon, and yeah, that's where I'm gonna start. So I think this is good for now. I think next video I'll kind of jump into more of the building side and kind of show how I even like approach my game, um, the steps that I'm taking to do that. But I think this was like a nice opener. So okay, see you in the next one.